Larry Fink is in Hong Kong breaking down where the markets are. Today we're going to get into it for you. You don't want to miss it. Let's get started. I want to go straight into our sponsor, and that is Coinbase. This is where you guys can get into your own crypto package, and the way you do it is go over to Coinbase.com, get started, because I know there's a lot of new listeners and new viewers, and you're thinking, is now the time to get into crypto when Bitcoin is having a hard time around 100K? This is the time. The future of money is here. With all of what I'm going to tell you today, you're going to kick yourself if you're not going this direction. So use our link down below. Get started. I want to lead off with the first clip here. And this, of course, is getting into what Larry Fink had to say at the Hong Kong Monetary Authority meeting. Take a look.
Today, there's about $4.1 trillion sitting in digital wallets. There's just too many middlemen in so many different areas. If we could tokenize ETFs, all $5.3 trillion of our ETFs, and provide that in a digital wallet, you could seamlessly, without fees, going from a digital currency or a stable coin or whatever that may be in your digital wallet and buy bond or stocks. And I believe that is going to be the future. That is going to happen sooner, not later.
Well, thank you, Larry. I think that's a perfect entry point for me to do a little bit advertisement for Hong Kong. We have a project ensemble which are getting some name internationally, which really aims to provide a pretty unified and good platform interconnection for different asset layers and then different payment means, whether it's stablecoin, tokenized deposit, and whatever, and hopefully to create a seamless system for everyone. So I encourage you and your firm to really
we'll be standing right next to you
with us. And
Fink is all in on tokenization. He sees the future. What really caught my eye and ear was the fact that he is much more bullish on when this is going to happen. So apparently an accelerated pace coming at crypto in a big way. And there's only a few things that could really drive that. Stablecoins, regulatory, and of course adoption. HKMA, of course, got their 36 stablecoin license applications done. So this will open up Hong Kong in a big way. It is one of the cornerstones, kind of the New York of the middle of the Southeast region. And I think that's the bigger point going forward is all of this starts to get into the future of where digital assets are going. And Fink himself is kind of going into this. This came in from their report. Notice here a couple of points. I want to get into this. And this, of course, is the settlement on tokenized assets. Aptos right there leading the way. Then, of course, you got Standard Chartered, BlackRock, et cetera, Mastercard. Big Wall Street and big banks moving in quickly. You can kind of see this. This is BUIDL, of course. But you can kind of see this expansion right here. Let me zoom in on that for you guys so you can kind of see. This is the prior to yesterday and then the explosion into a variety, including what we're seeing there in Aptos, Avalanche, et cetera. What does that mean? This means we're going to see a lot of chains benefit from this. And I think the ones that have both a tokenized future and partnerships in place are the ones that are going to be the winners out there. Franklin Templeton launches their tokenized USD money market also in Hong Kong. Again, trying to race to where this market, because this market is ready to go, where the United States is still kind of get going. But I think once the US gets behind this, which they are, now we're going to see an acceleration path. And this is something I'm hearing more and more coming out of even the Swell conference, is the amount of people that are talking about where this is going and that it is just getting started. Wall Street has finally woken up to this. Other points right here is the Benji investments. They too are also exploding across a variety of platforms, including Base, Stellar, of course, is their hard line, and even Ethereum, Avalanche, et cetera. So other news I want to hit on right here is Animoca Brands is joining forces with Hong Kong again for this stablecoin licensing push. A couple of points behind this. I want to go to a couple of clips here, but the key here is Animoca has been at the forefront of Asia for a very long time. And it's not always been just crypto. They've also done some gaming projects, et cetera, that have played into this. This is Yatsu talking about how they're positioning for an IPO here in the US. Take a look. Animoca should be here in the United States. I'm going to try to help President Trump get you here for your IPO. So I'm just trying to get you to commit, Yatsu. I'm just trying to get you to commit. You're going to have a million investors. You're going to have 1 million investors if you bring it to the United States. Minimum, 1 million.
Well, I look forward to that. So
Animoca Brands planning to go public on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange.
But I mean, I think the messaging here is clear. Animoca intends to return into the capital markets in the U.S.
You've actually called yourself a levered bet on altcoins at a time when we're actually seeing these altcoins underperform even Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's a buying opportunity from our perspective because we have essentially the lowest entry price on altcoins. Altcoins is actually where all the growth and activity is happening on chain with digital assets. Gold is a $27 trillion asset. But if you add all listed companies in the world, roughly $128 trillion, and the private companies, which are about 80, sort of plus $80 trillion, you've got $200 trillion of market cap vis-a-vis gold's $27 trillion of market cap. And again, people aren't using gold per se, but they're using Apple or Google or Amazon or all these applications, whether it's playing games or whether it's using DeFi protocols or whether it's finance or whether it's AI protocols. They're actually all happening in the altcoin space. Our belief is that altcoins is actually going to be outperforming Bitcoin as a collective, not individually. That means, you have to have basically an altcoin basket, if you will. And I think we're one of the best companies positioned to do that. And so speed to market does matter here, we think.
They represent almost the entire Web3 community. And when you think about that, going to Wall Street, being able to trade 24/7 eventually when we see tokenized securities come into play, and they'll be the leader of it, and the community that is behind Animoca, that is also behind all of those different projects and brands, that's exactly what Yatsu is talking about. And this could be a stimulus into the altcoin market, which he was referencing kind of in comparison to what the gold market is doing. But I think there's a hidden component here that people aren't completely connecting just yet, but they will. Listen to this clip, because this is Yatsu talking about Apple. Take a look.
We were one of the biggest, certainly top 10 mobile game developer in 2012, market leaders in gaming. We pretty much owned the charts at the Apple. We were like 12 out of the top 20.
Wow.
So we completely dominated the charts. But we're based in Hong Kong. And some dude basically in California, in Cupertino, in Apple was like, we don't like these guys. And someone just pressed the button and said, we're bad guys. Overnight, they removed all of our apps. Literally hundreds and hundreds.
Just to be clear, they deplatform all of your apps from App Store.
Overnight. Apple's become the bad guy. Can you imagine? They're the criminals now, in a way, right? Especially when you think that the Clarity Act is probably going to come out soon. Every company in the world, and especially in America, are all going to tokenize in one way or the other. And there's just not enough people around there who know what they're doing.
I think this could be a play for Animoca to become the next maybe Web3 app store that eventually develops. Imagine that as a publicly traded company, getting injections of capital and exposing this altcoin market, which is all these different projects, games, et cetera, that really are the heartbeat of Web3. Let's jump over to politics real quick. Of course, everybody knows New York City mayoral elections came through. Zohran Mamdani has made the win, pretty much wrapped up New York, almost like a landslide, really, if you compare it, because even all the Republicans compiled together were not able to defeat this guy. So this may play out interestingly around New York. But the cool thing about this is not necessarily the election itself, but it was how this election was looked at. So Polymarket is rigged crowd is awfully quiet tonight. This was in reference to the fact that they called this race. And if you continue to see this kind of performance with Polymarket and the connection to crypto, then you start to see the performance starting to make its way into mainstream. Now, this is CNBC talking about Polymarket and trying to digest this. Take a look.
Mamdani has more than 50%, and even if you were to factor in the Sliwa vote, it looks like Zohran Mamdani would have still won. President Trump said that Republicans lost yesterday because he wasn't on the ballot. I'm fascinated by just how big the win was for Zohran Mamdani. I thought it would be closer. I'm fascinated by some of the Polymarket results in terms of how frankly close these elections were, but how the Polymarket wasn't close. I don't know what that says about anything. And
I thought Polymarket was incredibly good. I mean, it was 90-10. It was never got anywhere except 90-10 from him. There never was any question that he was going to win. And it never got more than 90-10. And there was never any waffling. I mean, I didn't wait up for any of this.
If Polymarket is this accurate, and we're starting to see really a new revelation around a lot of these polls, I think everybody is looking at that now. If you go into some of the other factors that are coming in right now, the Supreme Court rules in favor of Trump's tariffs is a question on Polymarket. This, of course, dropped dramatically overnight. If they are right again, they have gone from what was at least not even a 50-50, which was back here, what was that? Yeah, September 4th when this went in. And now here we are right now. Most likely this could be a big win for a lot of the people out there who are against tariffs. If you're not against tariffs, I completely understand. But the point is whether or not the president is going to have powers or not is set up to the Supreme Court. Looks like the Supreme Court may rule against President Trump. CNBC also came back and said, well, maybe we should be playing this a little differently, looking at what's happening on Polymarket. Take a look.
Tariff policy, and Eamon Javers, you can also look at this on Polymarket. Case only 35% chance of the president prevailing. Yesterday we saw it, Eamon. There were people betting $2 million on Mamdani to make $100,000. No, it wasn't, though, was it?
Really? It's not if it's a sure thing, but that is
it was a sure thing.
That's a huge risk to take.
But that shows why, Eamon, instead of polls, now I'm thinking I believe
I saw, Joe, yesterday? Somebody tweeted this at me, betting during the White House press briefing on the next word that Caroline Leavitt will say. And one guy had bet $700 that the next word was going to be China. And I asked her a question about China. And he was like celebrating online and tweeting it out and screaming. He was live streaming himself betting.
You asked her
No,
a question.
I didn't. But this opens up a whole new revenue stream for me, right?
Oh, man. Don't even joke about that. I mean,
But let's talk about the Supreme Court, which is why I'm here this morning.
Okay, so now we have CNBC joining the Degens crowd, apparently, around this. And with all of this being said, and you look at what we're seeing still coming in from tokenized securities, what we'll see in terms of Web3 altcoins, maybe with the Animoca IPO, now we got to go back and look at the Bitcoin market, because that's really where a lot of this liquidity is going to be coming from. Here is Chris Vermillion. We've had him on the show before, and he's talking about Bitcoin and its current position. Take a look.
Bitcoin is not outperforming stocks in a bull market.
I do feel like Bitcoin's lost its shine. You know, Ethereum got some good traction, really took a lot of focus away from Bitcoin. Gold's back to life. People move to where the money is and where the trends are, and Bitcoin just doesn't have that right now. You can feel it. There's just the sentiment. I usually get lots of emails and questions on this stuff. They're not interested in Bitcoin. They're wondering where else to go.
All right, so there you have it. A lot of traders now taking a look at Bitcoin not being necessarily digital gold. Gold is gold. And of course, ETH possibly on the next flight in terms of up. So we're watching that one very closely. Another thing that is a narrative that is brewing is the connection between stablecoins and, of course, Ethereum. Take a look.
I think it's also important to note, you're saying all these stablecoins are being built on Ethereum. Is Ethereum going to see a big boost as more stablecoins get built on there, or is it just simply a platform?
It is a platform, but the platform gets a huge boost because every time you do a transaction on Ethereum, you are using some ETH, the network currency, you're using transaction processing power. If you want to have any kind of item that somebody wants to buy denominated in these stablecoins, you're also going to put it on the Ethereum network. And that's why we're seeing this incredible growth of Ethereum layer 2 networks.
There you have it, guys. Tokenomics right there on the front page of CNBC. And again, this is still new to a lot of people, so it will take some time to kind of make those curves occur. One of the things that will do it is credit, and this, of course, is just showing Visa's stablecoin volume. Now, granted, this began back here in September of 2023, actually December of 2023, so we're rolling in on really just 2 years. But look at this bell curve lining up. Now, yes, Paul, it is only 200 million. I understand that, guys. But when you look at the fact that Genius Act was not through, Clarity is still not through, and the fact that we don't have Wall Street fully at the table yet, even though there's a lot of signs they are already there, and they're pushing you to sell everything right now. That's the idea that's going behind all of this. So I think this is just building up. And of course, all that points to Ethereum. Ethereum also pulling off what was a high performance right now in terms of their transactions per second and fees being cheap. This is big because Fusaka is just around the corner. And if Fusaka, just so you guys know, I know many of you guys will say, what the heck is Fusaka? This basically makes Ethereum ridiculously fast, even faster than all of Visa, faster than all of the credit card markets out there combined. That's the kind of transaction throughput that Ethereum will be able to handle once Fusaka is deployed. That's a big deal, guys, because it starts to reposition the entire financial system and how transactions will take place. That's why I think Ethereum continues to be the shiner right here. Other things out there, U.S. Stablecoins are now getting even more performance out there. I'm not saying you guys should go do this, but this, of course, is over on Flow. And an example of how they're leveraging it. And this, of course, is leveraging the stablecoins both on USDC and PayPal in terms of some of these yields. I don't know if many of you are into Degens and into DeFi like that, but if you are, this might be something to kind of consider. Other things I want to get into, because this is another factor we've been calling for the last few days, is that there are some clear signals that this government shutdown is nearing an end. Now, does it happen this week? Let me go to this clip. Take a look.
The stars may start to align. They'll take a day or so in which they celebrate some of their victories. But then I think we can get back down to actually getting this place opened up again. We'll probably have to modify a little bit the continuing resolution. 3 bills already that were ready to go. Attach that to a conference committee extension to maybe mid-December. And that way the Democrats don't have to say that they capitulated totally. They can say, we wanted to get back to appropriations. And then we can move on right away into the other appropriations bills that have already passed the Senate. I think if we do this correct, we can take some lemons and maybe make a little bit of lemonade.
Reason this is important is this is the second member of Congress that has come out and talked about this issue, and that is that the Democrats could be on the cusp of actually coming back to the table and getting this done. If that happens, that will be another boom into the market. The markets will move, and it's possible we could be seeing a rotation right now out of Bitcoin and moving into some other assets. Now, the key thing that will make other assets move is clarity. Clarity is the key thing. So the real question is, will it pass this year? Take a look at this clip.
A market structure bill.
Overall, it's
still moving forward.
Full steam ahead. We are maintaining, before the end of the year. The president wants that piece of legislation on his desk.
We heard it here. By the end of the year, we're in.
There you go. The future is very bright for this industry. When we get this bill done, consumers are going to be offered better products, more efficiently, lower cost. That's a victory for everybody, not just Republicans or Democrats.
Yeah. Earlier this morning, Ripple announced a $500 million investment led by Fortress and Citadel, some of the biggest names in finance. It is nice to take a moment to see kind of how far we've come.
All right, so of course that was Brad Garlinghouse sitting down with Patrick Witt, who is the executive director of the President's Council of Advisors for Digital Assets, working with Sachs. So the point being is that they were getting into is Clarity Act's going to happen, and the fact that we're going to see this unlock on all sorts of new products. This goes even into some of the announcements that Ripple made with Mastercard, Gemini using RLUSD as settlement. We'll continue to see the connection here. We kind of talked about that in the beginning of the show. And then, of course, the big announcement was their announcement right there of the strategic investment led by Fortress, Citadel, which you remember, Citadel sitting at the beginning of the episode over in Hong Kong. These guys are in cahoots on how this market is going to move. And, of course, Ripple and XRP could be right there in the middle. Other things to look at, the potential on the Clarity Act being signed into law this year, starting to rise right here. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys. This had almost, I'll say, less of a chance right there at the beginning of November at 18%. And now all of a sudden, here we are at 42% as of November 4th. So a fairly large movement right now on Polymarket of getting this done. All we need, and I think, will be the fact that we get a government shutdown removed. And I think at that point, you're going to see light speed moving toward the Clarity Act heading into the holidays. This is a good statement right here. All y'all getting fooled by Wall Street. You literally can't stop what's coming. They're going to try to shake you out. I agree with that. I put out a tweet yesterday. I just simply said hodl. But this is all pre-Clarity Act, because imagine where this market is going to be once Clarity comes into play. The amount of new products, back to what Garlinghouse was talking about there, I think it's going to surprise you, because the amount of new products that are coming to the United States, the amount of companies that are now coming in that understand where this product fit works and where crypto is going to be a big part of it, I think that is just beginning. So this is just the rails and the framework to get things rolling. Be ready, guys. This is a big one. One last point that makes me feel we are close to the finish line is this tweet right here. This is the American Bankers Association. They're dropping in right here that they are trying to fight like hell to make sure this does not get pass through. And of course, Genius as well as Clarity is going to change that. But Genius Act is very clear. Yes, you're going to be able to earn yield on this within your exchanges, not the issuer side. But I think the fact that banks continue to try to fight this with both the lobbying groups and the banks themselves is only showing that we are this close to making it all come true. So if you guys are not part of the show audience, make sure and subscribe right now. And of course, we'll take a quick look at Bitcoin as it starts to correct off of what was a little bit of a scary moment as we dipped down to 98,900. Bitcoin now holding at 104, climbing out of what was a major adjustment to that because it was a big deal. And ETH was kind of in the same boat, now recorrecting after dropping to what was right at 3,000. Did not break the 3,000 mark, but now holding at 34.47 as we record. XRP also dipped into the zone of 207, did not break the $2 mark, and is now back on its way to 228. Again, these might be the points where we could see some altcoin rotation with everything that we are seeing right now. Clarity Act, government shutdown, and what we could see around both the Fed in December. A lot of things happening right now are on the ground, balls in the air. We'll see where it goes from here. All right, you guys, make sure and subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the show. You can also join the Diamond Circle. It's just a link down below. Just click that. It's absolutely free. And then, of course, check me out there on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.